Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you've been able to join us this morning for our highly live at 25. Good morning, Mr. McNamara.
How are you? How you doing?
Good. I was a bit worried you were missing in action there for a little while.
I was a bit MIA, but I'm all good now.
Nice. I can see they've put you in the bowels of wherever you are.
I had to go into the spare room to be able to do this. I'm sort of in the storage closet slash
the naughty corner.
what? Yeah, maybe the naughty corner. That's where they should put me. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I like it. All right. Well, guys, I hope you've been able to join us today for our highly live for 25. So for the next 25 minutes, James and I are going to be sharing with you some incredible strategies that's going to help you grow your business. And this week, we're going to be talking about public speaking, which, James, I think you know a thing or two about.
A little bit, yes. A little bit.
Okay. So we're going to go over 5 points with you guys. This is how our highly live for 25 works. We spend 25 minutes. We normally go over about 5 different points with you. So if you've been able to join us, throw a hello and a howdy in the chat. James, through the wonders of modern technology, we're actually streaming into 5 different places today.
Oh, wow. We're famous.
I know, we're just like everywhere, okay? We're like the Kardashians of Brisbane, okay? It's just everywhere. So hopefully you're joining us either on our Highly Engaged Entrepreneurs page, our Highly Engaged Entrepreneurs group, our 5 Foot Rope page, James's business page, James McNamara, or even our Highly Engaged Entrepreneurs YouTube channel. Hey?
Woo!
Hey? I know, right? How good are we? It's awesome. So wherever you are, wherever you're joining us from, please throw a hello in the comments so that we can say hello and howdy. And if you have any questions, please throw them in there. If we don't get to them while we are going through live, because it's pretty fast paced, we'll absolutely get to them, have a look at the end and see if there's any questions there that need answering. So, all right. Now, today, as I said, we're going to be speaking about public speaking and how it can help you expand your small business. So, what do you have to say about that, Mr. McNamara?
Well, it's public speaking can be a fantastic thing, and there's a few misconceptions I guess I'll cover off before we get into too much of the content. Now, look, one of those is that you don't have to be a professional speaker or a coach or something like that to be delivering a talk at, say, a networking event or something like that. Really, any business that has a degree of expertise needed to solve a problem, so the problem might be a bit tricky or a bit complex, you can actually talk about the problems you solve and the goals that you help people achieve through your product or service, and you can structure a really nice presentation about that people who attend networking events will be interested in, because the people who attend networking events love to hear guest speakers. So a broad variety of topics is often what the organizers of these things want, because it attracts a broad variety of people. You can't just have a motivational speaker and a Facebook guy or girl, every week in a networking event. They do want to arrange them. So anybody can do that. You don't have to be a professional speaker or coach, is the first one. And I think the second thing for people is to start to move their their thinking around public speaking from a really nice one-off thing that you get to do and move it to a systemized element of your marketing. And there's a complete system you can put around that, from not only the design of your presentation to how you generate leads from that presentation, but also how do you get yourself booked and then rebooked, and what you do with follow-ups and list building. And there's a whole range of really great things that half hour on your feet in front of a room can yield you more leads and referrals than just about anything else you do in marketing. I teach people how to do that, and they walk away with a handful of leads every time they do it. And there's nothing else that people do in marketing in their small business that yields leads that fast.
And it's a lot simpler than what people think. I just want to say that straight off the bat. So if you're watching this going, public speaking, oh my God, no, and I wouldn't know how to get booked, and I don't know. It's a lot easier than you think, guys. I run networking events, and I'm always looking for good public speakers. And as James said, not just about motivation or Facebook. You're looking for all different. We've had doctors, we've had spiritual mediums, we've had LinkedIn people, we've had, how to write grants and things like that. We've had a massive array of different subjects. So if you're sitting there watching this thinking public speaking, I could never do that, just wait, because trust me, it's a lot easier than what you think to get booked to start with. And as James said, the leads that it will generate for your business is unbelievable.
It's really
$0.
Yeah, it's really good. It's great. So look, with those myths in mind, you don't have to be a professional speaker to be able to do this. There's more opportunity out there than you think. People will be interested in, hey, Michelle.
Hey, Michelle. No, we're just getting started, so good timing.
We're just underway. So, and there's plenty of groups to speak at. The other thing too, and I'll cover it a bit today, but you can get yourself in control of those nerves rather than the nerves being in control of you, and relatively quickly as well once you put your mind to it. So let's crack on. I've got sort of a handful of key points that I want to cover off on this today. So the first one is that public speaking should be or can become part of your marketing system. So you want to start to think that you could add that in for just one event a month would be enough to make a very big difference to the amount of leads and referrals you get, the amount of sales you make in a year, and also the size of your list as well. I don't worry too much about getting booked for December because it's normally their Christmas party time and they tend to have a bit of a party rather than the traditional format of meetings. And most groups don't have something in January because they just leave it out. So there's 10 good months of the year to be able to think about that. Now, you imagine if you turned up to a gathering, and I'll talk about the types of gatherings in a moment. You have to be there for the whole event, but you're on your feet for 30 minutes and you walked away with even a couple of strong leads out of that and you turn that into business. How many times have you driven across town to go to a potential prospect and it's ended up being a dud meeting and you've just had to drive back to the office and you've killed 90 minutes or a couple of hours or 3 hours doing that? Yet you could turn up to a speaking event and walk away, and 2 leads is a small amount. I mean, I regularly get more than that from, half a dozen people in the room. And you can speak to groups that have got a lot more than that. But sometimes you speak to business breakfast groups who that's all they got in the room, but you still get leads and referrals as a result of that. So think about it as part of your system. There are a few elements to the speaking part of it. There's getting booked. There is the structure of your talk itself. There is the mechanism by which you gather leads. And then, of course, there's the various follow-ups you do for leads, for referrals. You'll also be given opportunities or recommendations for other places to go and speak. That happens regularly because the people in these types of networky style groups, whether it's a business breakfast or an industry group, they tend to go to a few things. That's the sort of person they are. And so they're involved with a few different groups and they can give you recommendations and warm introductions to organisers of other groups. And quite often you only really need to get yourself booked the first couple of times, do a really good job of those presentations, and your referrals can open up plenty of new doors for you. Which is absolutely brilliant. So think system when you think, think marketing system or speaking as an element of your marketing system rather than just a one-off that gives you a warm, jolly feeling, for speaking and it's a nice thing to do. Bugger that. Let's think about this as actually a system that's going to systematically, regularly bring you in leads. Hey, Troy, how you doing?
Troy. You guys,
that's Troy. Is he
going?
Is he under the knife yet?
He's not yet. Thursday.
So he's just getting ready.
He should be out there working and driving.
They're just sharpening up the implements for him now.
They are.
So second point I wanted to cover is, hey, there's plenty of opportunity. I run this slide up when I do this presentation live, but you think about the breakfast events, the lunch events, the dinner events, they're happening just about every day of every working day of the week. There's things you could, from wherever you're sitting in your city now, you could cast a 15K circle around wherever you are, and there'd be that many events happening through the month that you're probably not aware of. So there's the networking groups, there's the chambers of commerce, and then of course there's the industry events. So certain industries have their monthlies, and they'll have a guest speaker come along. Sometimes they're so good, and the public speaking opportunity is seen to be so good in those industries, you've got to pay to have that opportunity.
Yes. Yeah.
I know master builders and those sorts of things, they make opportunities available for service providers, but you've got to pay, and sometimes it's a couple of $1,000 just to even have a 5 or 10 minute spot. But so everyone understands the power of what speaking in a room can do for your credibility, and also your the leads and opportunities it opens up, because it tends to be the more interested, proactive minded people who are putting in the extra to want to grow their business, and they're out there looking. They're the ones that gather at these events. The people who
it's
are
a whole different
like
mindset, isn't it? When you go to networking,
100%,
completely different mindset.
100%,
and you're putting yourself in front of a group that you may never have been able to get in front of or connect with before, which is
100%. It's so true. And the good thing about these types of groups that meet as well is that they are full of people who are more predisposed to networking and referral giving and opening up introductions and giving recommendations and those sorts of things, because that's actually like a part of the psyche of a business owner. Some people are cut from that stone, and some people are not. Doesn't matter. I've worked with people. It doesn't matter how good you are. They won't refer you, because that's just, they don't do that. Yeah. Yet there's other people who are connectors. They're part of their personality is they love to connect people, and they tend to hang out at networking events and industry events and those sorts of things. Then there's special interest groups. Of course, you can go to things like your meetups and what's happening with different Facebook events, and you see the whole variety of things on things like Meetup, Facebook, and Eventbrite, for example. So those meetings and gatherings, you can sort of start to infiltrate and get yourself there as a guest speaker as well. Even if you're not, so you might think, well, speaking at the Chamber of Commerce doesn't suit my my product or service that I sell. That's fine. Find a group where it will fit. There's franchise groups as well. You know, that one of my longest standing clients started from me doing a free presentation at the monthly franchise meeting for the franchise owners of this group just in Brisbane. And it turned into working with franchise owners all over Australia, and it ended up running their whole operation in Victoria for them as opportunity after opportunity after opportunity opened up for that. You can create your own. Certain services can go inside companies and provide a 30-minute lunch and learn. And there's plenty of opportunities for that around, particularly things like corporate wellness for the larger employers. So just the more creative you get, the better. And the thing that gets you booked,
if you narrow it down to your niche, like, I mean, say with Michelle has, Booty Bags Bespoke, for Michelle, it might be a crafting group, or I know she recycles a lot of her stuff, so she'd look for a group in that sort of niche. So if it doesn't have to be a business environment, you can also go into, a lot of different groups, and they're easy to find, with Facebook and things like that. So something like that would be perfect too.
Yes, 100%. And the amount of things that you can actually create as opportunities as well. So you can, once you get in the swing of it, you can start to create these opportunities to speak. And I like people to go and do it live in front of people first, because they get a feel for how an audience works. And once you got a feel for how an audience works, then that really does help you when you're presenting online like we are today, because you get a feel for what people are going to be thinking and doing and feeling, when they're listening to a presentation. So given any opportunity you can to get in front of a local business breakfast group, 4 or 5 times, or that's going to not only give you leads from doing those things, but it will also turn you into a better presenter for all of the online opportunities that you can get. And that's just out of control in terms of how many online opportunities there are to speak. I mean, Susie and I are creating them for ourselves through this particular mechanism, but there's podcasts and all manner of things that you could be invited as a guest for those people who are also serving your target audience, but they may be serving them through a different set of products or services or a different mechanism than what you are. You both serve the same target audience. You don't compete. Could be a really good match made in heaven for that. So don't think there's not any opportunity. Don't think, oh, who would want to listen to me talk about my business? Well, the reality is you're not really going to be talking about your business. You're going to be talking about removing a pain point or helping someone achieve a goal. That's the
Yeah.
key. You're not talking about what you do during your day at work, for goodness sake. You're talking about the problems you solve or the goals you help people achieve. And when you get a good structure for that, which I'm going to talk about in a couple of points' time, you can really bring that to life. Yeah, you really can absolutely bring that to life. So there's loads and loads of opportunity. Then the next thing people say is, well, fair enough, but gee, I'm nervy. I'll probably forget everything in front of the room. There, you probably will too, first time you do it, to be honest with you.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. I had someone who I taught through my workshops, and I said, she got an opportunity to do her 30-minute not long after she finished the workshop. And I said, how'd your 30 minutes go? And she said, oh, well, more like 20 minutes. But I said, what do you mean? She said, I forgot a third of it at least. I went, oh, well, it doesn't matter. And she said, still walked away with 3 leads, and 2 of them have turned into business in the following week. So that was a pretty good 20 minutes spent.
Yeah, you'll connect with different people in different ways. Like some people won't be interested in what you have to share. And then you'll get, you only need a couple of others. I've been at a morning meeting. It wasn't one of mine. It was someone else's, where there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us in the room and the person who was hosting it. And the person that was up speaking walked away with 2 people that basically said at the end of it, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
it was, and I'm just sitting there going, whoa, okay.
And you've got to think about these groups too. Remember, you're dealing with people who are the connector personality type.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking about the fact that there might only be 6 people in the room. That's 6 by up to 100 people each in their connection, in their circle of connection, that they have enough influence with to say, hey, I heard someone speak about that exact topic you were talking about the other day. They seem like a really straight up, knowledgeable person. I've given you them your contact details, or I recommend you get in contact. So referral base can be huge, right? Can be absolutely huge. So as people talk about the nerves, right? And you will be nervous. Welcome to the human race. There was an old set of statistics that said speaking in front of an audience is one of the biggest fears, or the biggest number one fear for the human being. And I did some Googling a few months ago, or middle of last year actually, was to see if that is still being spoken about as being one of the primary fears, because we've moved a long way and there's a lot more stuff online, and you see people doing Facebook Lives and walking around talking on mobile phones in public now and all that sort of stuff. I wondered had it shifted, but the Institute for Psychology in the USA was still touting it as the biggest fear.
Wow.
I remember listening years ago to one of those old American motivator tapes talking about public speaking. The number one fear is the fear of speaking in front of people, and the number 2 fear is fear of heights or fear of falling, and the number 3 fear is death by fire, which sounds pretty awful. But then the comparison was made that most people would rather jump off the Riverside Centre or be burnt alive than stand in front of a group of people and speak. So, understandable. Welcome to the human race if you get nervous. But see, what happens is people think it's a big barrier to overcome when they think, I've got to get rid of my nerves. Nothing could be further from the truth. You just need to get to a point where you're in control of the nerves rather than the nerves in control of you.
Yeah.
Now, that may still leave you in a state where you are experiencing some nerves and some anxiety. That's fine. But if you're in control of it, that actually helps you. The peak performance proponents and the neurologists do tell us that a little bit of anxiety that where the anxiety hasn't gained control of you, but you're still in control of that, is actually positive, because it heightens your senses. It gives you more intensity in your body language and your vocal tones and your presentation. So there's a lot of good additions that a little bit of nerves can help you with. So it's not a massive mountain to overcome. It's not I'm eliminating nerves. That's stupid. I have been speaking for over 30 years, and each time I get in front of an audience, I can tell there's still a little bit of nerves there. But if there wasn't nerves, do you know what it means? It means you don't give a hoot. You don't really care about what you're talking about or the experience you're creating for your audience or any of that stuff. So if you're not nervous, I don't reckon you deserve a lead, because you wouldn't be trying hard. I mean, if you don't,
be up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that mean when there's people like me that as soon as I see a microphone, I'm like, oh, that's mine.
Yeah, well, there's some.
There's the exceptions to the rule.
We can get help for you too. Don't worry.
There was actually a sports, I don't know whether it was Walter Cronkite or Howard Cosell, one of them. There was a guy in America who used to have a radio show, and I'm sure he was a sports broadcaster or something. And I wish I could remember his name. And what he used to do before he went live on air was he would drink a heap of water, but he wouldn't go to the loo.
Oh, uncomfortable.
Because what it did was he said that what it did was it gave him that edge that, I have to get through this really quickly. And he used to talk really, really fast, and he'd blah, 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 and he'd be going, and his mind would be going like this. And he would talk like, and as soon as he'd finish, he'd be gone off his way to the loo. And yes, Troy said you always need a nervous spew. Thank you, darling. Because no matter whether Troy was playing for Australia, Queensland, local rugby in the day, he would throw up before every single game because he would get that worked up. And
was that his weight control mechanism?
Yeah, you're not wrong. And so you can either drink enough water or you can just throw up and you'll be fine.
You'll be right.
You'll be right.
The other thing that really helps with the nerves too is a good structure, which is the next point. And it's really amazing how far people can come forward and how quickly they can come forward with their public speaking when they can put it into a good structure. One of the challenges of putting it into a good, simple structure is that most people have huge expertise in their particular area of speciality. So they've created this business or this service provision, whether it's a service they provide or whether it's sort of products with expert advice that goes with them or what have you. There's so much knowledge there, and trying to simplify that down is a challenge for people. Once you can simplify it down, there's a few things happen. Your audience can keep up, which is really important. So that's going to get you a lead or a referral or introduction. If you go hammer and tongs, and you'll speak straight over the top of your audience, they won't understand what you're saying. No. They won't tell you they don't understand what they're saying, but they'll just you'll just come and go and you won't get any leads.
They'll get that glazed look over there.
Yeah, and they're just waiting for you to finish. So a good structure also helps you remember it. That's really important, so you can remember where you're going. So there's 5 parts to the structure that I teach. One is your introduction. So when you first go on, people often make the mistake of doing what they've seen everybody else do, which is, hello, I'm such and such, I'm from such and such, and we do this and we do that. And they end up weeing all over themselves at the front of the room, yeah? So you don't want to do that. Yeah, you don't want to do that. I like to get people to ask a couple of questions. Just let me see who we got in the audience, and who's this, and then the exact opposite, who's that, and then sometimes a bit of a throwaway funny line. So it's 3 simple questions that A, captures everybody in the audience because everybody's got the opportunity to put their hand in the air, and B, lightens the mood a little bit because you've had a bit of a funny. So I'll say, if I'm speaking at a large chamber of commerce, might be 120 people, there's going to be business owners in the room who are my target audience, and there's going to be a whole heap of sales reps and employees there as well who, yes, I want to entertain and educate a little bit through my talk, but they're probably not going to spend any money with me. It's the business owners that are the target. So I will say, let me see who I've got in the room. Who are the business owners in the room? And sort of half the room puts their hands up. Who are the people that work for somebody else? Right, and all the employees put their hand in the room, and then I sarcastically say, anybody wish they worked for somebody else? And of course, all the business owners go, ho, 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 ho. And I've done too. I've got everybody in the room involved in my presentation, and I've had a little bit of a laugh, and I haven't wasted time weeing all over myself at the front of the room, and then I can just snap straight into my content. So that introduction literally only takes 40 seconds, right, or 30 seconds. And that would be
unexpected too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And you don't want to faff around at the front of the room doing this introduction and wasting time. You've only got 30 minutes, right? Yeah. And so you've got to deliver some value, and so people can go, oh, that person knows what they're talking about, and you've got to leave enough time for you to do the call to action.
Yeah.
And my call to action is really perfected for smaller groups, which is the reality of most of these networking groups. Most of these networking groups are going to be less than 20 people, let's face it. Right.
Yeah.
So an introduction, then we get into 3 points of content. Right. So normally when you structure a talk, you'll give your talk a title, and I suggest a how-to title. So how to fix big problem, how to get main benefit, right? In your change it, obviously, to suit your business. And then your 3 points are the real helicopter view. If I'm going to deliver on that promise of saying I'm going to teach you how to, then what are the 3 biggest things I've got to get across? Yeah. So it's like skimming a stone across a pond. It's just skip, 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 and you're on the other bank. It's not taking a deep dive because you'll lose people. And many of you, if you are delivering a tailored or a bespoke service, you can't go into too much detail in a group setting, because you need to sit down with the individual prospect and, understand where they're at and what their challenges are and what they've tried before and what's worked and what hasn't worked, and come up with a specific solution for them. So this sort of a presentation is really designed to get you the lead for someone that says, hey, can we talk? And then you go into your sales process. That's the lead, sitting down one-on-one with them, in a few days' time. So it's skimming the stones across the top. So it's 3 points of content. I like to see those points of content have a little bit of a fact or an information point, but bring it to life with either an application, which means, so if you were doing in your business or in your home or in your life, you would and you would give how to apply it, or you could tell a story about someone you've worked with. Right. Now, you can change the names to protect the innocent, and of course, don't break any privacy rules or anything like that. But you want to be able to create a picture that your audience members can put themselves inside of.
They can connect.
That's the art of it. They literally pick their chair up and walk over and sit inside the picture that you're painting. Then you've got real good connection with them. So 3 points highlighted by an information point, an application, or an example to bring them to life. So that's the second part of the structure. The third part of the structure then is we summarize that, right? So that's really, the summary is put in there more as a segue than anything else, because we're segueing into the next point, which is our call to action. But there's an art to this. So that's the summary lets the audience know that, hey, we've finished giving you information now, and you just give them a quick reminder. And that summary can be as simple as, so look at what we've covered so far is point 1, point 2, and point 3. And it just has to be that simple. And then I turn to the audience and say, hey, who learned something, or who's picked something up from what I've said today or what I've said so far? And then I get a little bit of feedback from them on that. Just 2 people only, just one side of the room and the other side of the room. That's it. And then I move into my call to action, which I actually use a paper form. People go, oh, you use paper form. Oh, can't you do something electronic? Yeah, I can do something electronic. And you know what happens? Your site doesn't work, mate.
Let me tell you something. I've seen this in action. James has been the speaker for us a couple of times at our 5-foot rope events, when we were able to have 5-foot rope events. And this is brilliantly simple. And it's just a paper form that you hand out and people fill it out. And I think you would get at least 90% of the people in the room would fill that form out. Yeah. Yeah,
they all fill it. It's only every now and again I'll get a lawyer who folds it in half with nothing on it. But other than that, and I get full contact details. They all put all their contact details on because I tell them. Yep. Anyway, you got to come to my course to learn the actual script to do this. It's not forceful, it's not pushy, it's not cheesy. And I'll tell you why it's none of that, because I get them filled in en masse. And if you had anything that was pushy, manipulative, cheesy, or suck, the big one, people aren't going to fill it in.
That's right.
They're just going to fold it in half and leave it blank. And so I get them, as I said, it's only every now and again I'll get a lawyer that will not fill it in, but they're rare. So full contact details, what was the best thing they gained from the presentation? So I've got testimonials written in there, and then I have yes, I'd like to know more about, and I normally give them a few options as to what to know more about. And one of those is they personally want to know more about it. One of those is they know someone else who wants to know more about it. And number 3 is they know another business or group that would be interested in the presentation I did today. So that's how I get leads for my own business, referrals for my own business, and recommendations to go and speak at other spots. So it becomes self-perpetuating, as I started, part of a system. You can keep
and you're
working.
Building your database.
Yeah.
You're building your database. And honestly, guys, I have seen this work, and it is absolutely brilliant because no one feels pressured. You know what I mean? Like, you're not in people's faces, you're just handing them out, and people are more than happy to fill them out and, give their feedback. I think it's one of the best call to actions or tools to be used in a call to action that I've seen. And as you said, I've seen people use QR codes and go on here. And even when you're asking people to check in when you're at the networking event, people don't know what they're doing, or they can't work it out, or they can't find the page. So something like that, it really is absolutely brilliant in its simplicity.
And you've got to do it because people think, oh, well, if I do a good enough talk, then they'll look me up. No, they won't.
No, they won't.
Because you finish the networking breakfast, quite often they're morning events, and people are rushing off into a full day of appointments. Then they go home and they got a full night of dealing with family and running kids around to sport and ballet and this, that, and all the crash out in bed, get up and do it all over the next day. So if you speak at a breakfast event, by morning tea, you're forgotten. If you don't get the lead at that opportunity, you've left the opportunities in the room and you'll never get them again. And that's why people say things like, oh, I tried doing the guest speaking thing and it didn't work. No, you didn't make it work. That's the issue. And I don't want to sound too bossy about that, but that's the way to make it work. And the final thing, so we sort of sandwich that call to action between so we got a sum up, a summary, the call to action, and then I do like a final word. And that's simply just a motivating quote or a motivating statement that might be related to the talk. It's sort of like an uplifting boost, a little bit of chutzpah at the end to encourage people to get out and to put into action what you talked about. And if you end on that high note, you normally get a clap.
Yep.
It's not about getting the clap, but why I like to make sure a clap comes in the room is because all of the people who filled in the form and said, I want to know more about what you do, James, we talk? That's just justifying in their mind that they've done the right thing.
Yes.
So it's guarding against this concept of buyer's remorse. Even though they haven't bought anything off me at the talk, they've indicated that they want to go further with me. That process has just happened, and then literally a couple of minutes after that, the whole room's clapping for the person that they want to go further with, and it just settles everything down. And then, of course, you gather up all of those forms. I just get them to leave them on the table. I don't get someone to pick them up. I deliberately instruct that they should be left on the front of the table because you don't want any interruptions. You don't want any buggerizing around. And then you finish in your 30 minutes, and you sit down and you let the rest of the event go on. Sometimes speakers, because they've been given the floor, they take the floor too long. And normally these events, they have a few wrapping up items that have to be done. And the organizers want to do that. So there'll be messages or notes or instructions or thank yous, and they'll have a part that they want to do. And if you eat into that,
they're trying to go through it, and people are wanting to get out the door because the speaker's gone over. And, people know, okay, well, it finishes at 8:30 or whatever time. And they're literally walking out the door while the person whose event it is, and this has happened to me, is there going, well, hang on, I've got things that I want to cover with you guys to let you know what's coming up or what's happening. And the people are running out the door. I've been at a networking event where the guest speaker actually spoke for nearly an hour and a half.
No good.
And the host of the thing never said to them,
zip it, champion. Zip
I
it.
always say to my speakers, I'll stand up the back and I'll give them this when there's 5 minutes to go, and I make sure that I keep them to time because there's things that I want to get over to my members. It's great that they've come and given their time, but make sure that you respect the time of the event organizer because it takes a lot of work to organize these things. So something to really keep in mind.
100%. And so the value exchange really when you're a guest speaker is you get access to that audience, the one that's in the room, plus all of their potential referrals if they choose to refer you.
Yeah.
And so that's your payment for the fact that you've given up some time to share your expertise, but there's a finite period in which to do that. And so as long as we work in that way and you stick to your time, but a lot of speakers will speak, given the opportunity to speak, they'll stick to the time, but they don't do the value exchange. They'll come and give their value, but they don't have a deliberate process to seek the lead in return. And all you're doing through the mechanism that I teach in my workshops is give people a direct and simple path to either say, yes, I need to talk to you further, or yes, I know someone who could benefit from talking to you. If you don't provide that path, they're not going to reach out to you.
No.
Right? It's that simple. They're too busy. And sometimes people might be nervous. You put yourself at the front of the room in the expert position with authority and you do a damn good talk. Some people might be feeling a bit nervy about, well, how do I approach them? So I learned that early in the piece because I used to practice and work on style and all those sorts of things. And somebody said, James, be careful you don't get too good because people won't come and see you. It'd be
Yeah.
like they'll be
They'll be intimidated.
fearful or intimidated or
Mm.
embarrassed to come and see you, and your leads can walk out the door. So
Mm.
that's why, once I remembered that, that's why when I teach people how to speak, I teach them how to accentuate their natural style, but
Yeah.
not try and be someone else or something else, because there has to be that sort of, particularly for Australian audience, that little bit more easygoing, that little bit more
Mm.
natural. And if you've got any quirks and jerks, let's sort of accentuate them a little bit so they
Yeah.
can become part of your unique and interesting style, and people will warm to you. And that's
Yeah.
another thing that people worry about with public speaking is, oh God, I've got to knock too many rough edges off in order to do it. Well, no, not really.
No.
There might just be one or two rough edges that have to come off, but the rest, you've got to be you.
People have got to connect with you. They'll connect with someone who's real before they'll connect with someone who's perfect.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly.
If you're
true.
up there going, oh, hello, it's lovely to have you all here and your dictation is perfect and everything's perfect, people are going to be going, oh God, and you'll lose them really quickly. Whereas you get up there and go, hey, everyone, how you going? Fantastic to be here. It's so good to see everyone. Just talk like you're having a conversation with someone. And and people will connect with that a lot more, I think.
They do, particularly when you can master that art of standing at the front of the room, like as if you're having a conversation with someone, but there just happens to be 10 people in the room. And that's why I really love people to get out and get face to face with real audiences, because it's only with a real audience you can master that style. So I think I've covered the last point I wanted to cover, but I will mention it just one more time, which is you must do the call to action. Right? There's a couple of things.
Why are you there?
You waste of time, yeah. Sometimes people, they feel a bit uncomfortable doing a call to action. Well, learn the one that I teach, and there's no reason for you to be uncomfortable with it.
So brilliant.
And the second thing is, sometimes people put so much content in that they don't leave enough room for the call to action. And therefore they rush the call to action, and it looks really bad when you rush the call to action.
Yeah.
Or sometimes people don't practice their talk enough so that they're not on point when they present, and they can tend to wander. Have you ever seen those presenters? They wander, and you can tell they've lost their place, and they're sort of bubbling on, and then they realize whether, and they come back to point, but they've just lost 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that 5 minutes is the 5 minutes for the call to action. And I've seen speakers who've had that happen, and they get to the point where they would normally do a call to action. They realize how jammed up they are for time, and they just forget about it, because they figure forgetting about it looks better than trying to rush a call to a rush call to action looks desperate. No one responds.
Yeah. And I mean, people expect it too. Really. I mean, I've never ever been to watch a speaker where at the end of it there hasn't been something there that they're wanting to share with people. Whether it's
particularly a free one,
right? So, people expect it. It's like, when you go to anything, people expect it. And then if the people in the room are interested in what you're telling them, but you don't tell them what to do or how to connect with you or what you've got coming up, then they're going to go, oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. And they're not going to come and ask you, and they're not going to look up your website. They're just going to think, oh, I wish they had told me more. But anyway, kids have got to be picked up from soccer. I've got to go.
Being the expert in the room also makes you a leader, and you need to lead people to where you want them to go. So if you want them to come and attend your workshop or, buy your product or whatever it is, you have to let them know that as a leader, and you have to have confidence in yourself and your product that the people in the room that are interested will want to know more. So you need to let them know how to do that. And that's all part of being a leader. But that's just, that's just me.
So there you have it. Just to quickly summarize those few points, if you think about getting into guest speaking to build your business, think about it as part of your marketing system on an ongoing basis. There's plenty of opportunity for you to get out there and speak, and there's these organizers that often organize a number of groups. So you get booked with one of them, and you do a good job there. You'll often immediately after that get several bookings in the following weeks. You can get in control of your nerves, and that's all you need to do is just get in control of them so they're not in control of you. It's not about eliminating nerves. You need a good structure. I gave you my 5-part structure. And then you must do a call to action, or the whole point is mute. What's the point of doing it? So I've got, I'll put subsequently, I've just, the landing pages are due out this week, Susie, but we'll put links to my next workshop, which is coming up in Brisbane on the 26th of May. It'll be all day.
Awesome.
And
Yep.
that's where people start at the beginning of the morning. We do a pre-webinar the week before to help people get very crystal clear on the topic that they're going to speak on. And then through that day, we actually structure the talk top to bottom, and we get them to practice certain key elements. The introduction is one of them, because you've got to start powerfully, and the call to action is another thing we practice, because you need to finish successfully. So my whole mantra is you start powerfully, you finish successfully, with leads in your hand. And people get up the front and they practice those bits, and I give them critiquing and feedback and so forth along the way, all aimed around how can you take your little unique package and make that as good as it can be at the front of the room. And actually that's the bit that people comment on the most in the whole workshop, is not only having their own critique done, because it's all about a rising tide lifts all ships, so it's not about being critical in any way. It's always about being helpful and encouraging, but then also listening to the critique of other people as they go throughout. They're taking loads of notes on that feedback, and they absolutely love it. So we'll make sure that the links to those become available as the landing pages come up this week. And of course, Susie, we need people to join us this Friday, don't we?
Yes, as it says below, we have our free masterclass on again this Friday, and we're actually doing a couple of different times at the moment. So I'll actually put the link in the comments now, which it should show up there in a second, and you'll be able to choose the time that suits you. So we're sort of playing with a few different times, but go on and have a look and register. It's a free masterclass, and we will give you 9 strategies on how to double your business this year. And I love these masterclasses. I have so much fun with them, and the feedback on that we've been getting, James, on them has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's first class. It's really good. So just to be clear, that's different to the public. That's not the public speaking topic. That's actually a business building topic. So come and join us at that masterclass. People absolutely love it. All right, Susie, I think we've really cooked our 25 minutes this time.
Yes, people are running out of the room now, James. You've
gone too long.
You've gone too long. So, all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed our Highly Live for 25. If you are watching this as a replay, please put #replay in the comments. And if you have any questions, please throw them in there, because we will absolutely answer them for you. Thank you, everyone who's joined us. We've had a heap of people jump on today, which has been fantastic. Thank you for giving us your time, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 11:15 for next week's Highly Live for 25. And don't forget to register for the masterclass this Friday. Thank you, Mr. McNamara. Have a good afternoon.
See ya. Thanks, Susie. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.